This is episode 2. So last week we talked about Bitcoin's blockchain and how it's a public ledger. And the blockchain is basically like a special kind of database. This is fucking with me. I need to be able to. 1 second. I want to be able to see y'all and my notes at the same time. Okay, so last time we talked about Bitcoin's blockchain, how it was it's a special kind of database because of how it records transactions in 10-minute batches called blocks. Is this sounding familiar to you guys? Yeah. Okay, cool. Good to hear. So a Bitcoin block is 10 minutes of transaction data plus the hash or like the ID of the previous block. And so that way they're chained together. If you see this little diagram here, it has the arrows pointing from the previous block ID, which also gets stored in the next one. And that's how the chain is formed. So basically there could be lots of chains going around, but the longest one is the one that's generally accepted. So then we talked about Ethereum. It's like a similar type of database that stores the state of a virtual machine instead of just like transactions that are going on. It's actually like a full computer where you can execute like very complicated smart contracts and protocols. Like lending is the one we talked about last time. And then the state of this machine is recorded every 15 seconds, and these are the blocks. So blockchains compute and store data in blocks. I think I've established that. And then participants in the blockchain network, they store and update identical copies of the full blockchain history on each of their computers. And this basically helps people to spot bullshit or spot something that shouldn't be going on. Like if you could see all of the history in like a wallet that hasn't been used for like 2 years, for example, comes on the network, you can actually go back 2 years ago and see the data from then as well. So it's really helpful to have a bunch of identical copies of the blockchain or of this database spread out all across the world, right? It makes it way more difficult for any one group to try to pull off some shenanigans. Okay, so the fact that the blocks are constantly being added to the chain and new data is constantly being added to the chain leads to the size of this node or this database constantly growing, right? And some of you might see where I'm going with this. As the blockchain grows, less computers have the storage space required to keep that full copy, right? So this leads to centralization. If the blockchain grows too quickly within a matter of like months or years, it could only be able to be stored on a data center, which doesn't make it very decentralized. Ideally, a typical individual could run it themselves on their own personal computer. So this seems really bad and like all blockchains are doomed. But remember, storage is also becoming cheaper. So basically, you have to walk a very fine line between how much you can let your blockchain grow, and so that the increase in the cheapness of storage doesn't outpace you so much that you become centralized as a result. Is this all making sense? Any questions? Maybe a nod if it's making sense. All right, cool. Okay, so this is called the blockchain trilemma. And basically, you are forced when building a blockchain to pick 2 of these 3 factors. And this is the current state of the technology. It's not necessarily like a doomsday sentence. This could probably be overcome, and it's being overcome like every single day. So let's go through these 3 choices that you have. So decentralized means creating a blockchain system that does not rely on a central point of control. Scalable means is basically the ability for a blockchain system to handle an increasingly growing amount of transactions. And then security, so the ability of the system to operate as expected, defend itself from attacks, bugs, and other foreseen issues. So you get the trade-off. The more scalable it is, the more transactions they allow per second, the faster it grows and the faster it becomes centralized as it becomes too large to store on normal computers. But there's a lot of creative workarounds that people are coming up with right now. So I don't know what that slide is. Okay, so now we're gonna do an overview of like the top 4 biggest blockchains in existence right now, and we're gonna look at which trade-offs they chose. And I think setting it up this way will give you a really good understanding of what these blockchains are, how they're different, and what might attract you to one of them versus the other. So we'll start with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most decentralized blockchain. Second is Ethereum. Bitcoin scalability is in progress right now. So I put that handshake there to signal that they need help from other networks, like layer 2 networks or layer 1.5 networks. In Bitcoin's case is a technicality we can get into later. But basically, the Bitcoin mainnet itself is not very scalable. It's somewhere around how many transactions per second? Like 10 to 15 transactions per second, whereas Visa is processing 30,000. But it is very secure. It does work exactly as intended. So the consensus for Bitcoin is proof of work. We talked a little bit about this last time. And there are 13,714 nodes as of yesterday. And the size of the database is 370 gigabyte, which is actually really, really small for a blockchain because it can only do transactions. It makes it really easy. There's no like complex smart contract data or like NFT images that need to be stored, for example. Okay, so Ethereum, I think, is probably the closest to achieving all 3. And scalability it's a stretch to say that ETH is scaled at this point. But it's scaling quickly through layer 2s like Arbitrum and sidechains like Polygon. We'll get into that in a little bit. But Ethereum is very decentralized. They actually have built into their algorithm a way to prevent like very specific mining computers that are built specifically for the Bitcoin algorithm. These are called ASIC computers. They're made just for mining. But Ethereum has figured out a way to basically make GPUs the cap, and so you can't make ASIC computers for it. It caps the processing at the GPU level, so it keeps it very decentralized. And we could have Ben talk about that more later this semester, I'm sure. Also, Ethereum secure. It's never. I mean, it's forked like a couple times randomly, but it's never gone offline in its history. So Ethereum is still proof of work. There are 3,124 nodes. There's actually a couple of different versions of Ethereum. There's Geth, which is around 1 terabyte right now. There's OpenETH, which is around 0.5 terabyte right now. And the archive size, which actually stores the intermediate state of the computer at all times, is like 8.6 terabytes. But this isn't really too important. And some sources will say that like the ETH node size is like 300. So I guess there's a lot of factors that are going into play here, but we'll call it 500 to 1 terabyte. Okay, so now we have Cardano. Cardano uses a proof of stake architecture or a consensus mechanism called Ouroboros. We could talk about that in the future if you guys wanted to, but right, they have like 2,200 stakers who verify the network, and so it's pretty decentralized, and it's currently 13 gigabytes because 99% of its history was only the transaction layer and not the smart contract layer. So kind of similar to how Bitcoin has been growing slowly. What's up, Michelle? Okay. Yeah. So consensus in 30 seconds. So we talked about these blocks earlier and how they store like a group of transaction data or a group of the virtual machine data. And at the end of each of these block times, whether it's 10 minutes for Bitcoin or 15 seconds for Ethereum, everyone on the network will try to come to agreement about all the data that happened in the last block. So basically majority rules here. They use different mechanisms called consensus mechanisms typically, which will determine how they determine the truth, basically. So proof of work, you run expensive computer algorithms. That way, if you're lying, you'll just be wasting energy. But whereas staking, proof of stake networks, you have to stake the token itself to get access to validate these transactions and earn the rewards associated with them. And then if you misbehave, you will get your stake slashed. So there's the disincentive as well. And it's also, well, yeah, I won't get into that right now. So the reason that I have the I don't know for the scalable and secure is that Cardano is like still building. It's still in its like very early phases, and it's really hard to know what it's actually going to look like when there's a lot of activity on it. For now, we can at least tell that they filled all 2,200 validator slots, so it should be pretty decentralized. And then hopefully it will take some middle ground between scalable and secure. Okay, so now we have Solana. Solana is not very decentralized. I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, or the FTX exchange, which we'll talk about later. But they invest heavily into Solana, and they control a lot of the network. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was some glitch, and the chain started forking uncontrollably, and they basically just shut it down, and then had to come together to decide on which version of the chain was the truth, the one they wanted to proceed with. So this can really happen in a truly decentralized network. Hopefully this will improve over time. And secure is questionable at this point. Like we saw that it went down, and it's because it's centralized, it could also be vulnerable to some security threats, but it is scalable, that's for sure. So here's a little more about the Solana nodes. They use a proof of stake, but they also use proof of history, which means they store most of their data off of the chain. So they only need to have like the past couple hours or days of transactions, and then they tap into another network, another trustless network, to get the old data. So this is one of the ways that you can kind of go about solving the blockchain trilemma, is by storing the majority of the history off chain. So Solana's nodes are like probably tens of terabytes, like over 10x the size of Ethereum's, despite the fact that Solana's only been running for a couple months and ETH has been going for 5 years. So they allow a lot more transactions per second, a lot more smart contract behavior, and we'll go into why they do this in a little bit. But the blockchain grows ridiculously quickly. Okay, so despite all of this, I still believe that everyone can win. Looking long term, I think that there will be enough demand for blockchain products, ones that haven't been invented yet, that there'll be enough demand to fill the block space on all of these chains. It will just be different based on the application. So for example, Solana has very high throughput. It's great for gaming. So a lot of the blockchain games will end up on Solana because it has enough centralization to get away with it, and it has the scaling that's needed for gaming. Like to mint an NFT on the Ethereum mainnet is like could be 30, 40, 50 bucks. So any NFT that should be worth less than that is immediately priced out, right? But when you can have minting for essentially free, then you could have like $1, $2 value items tokenized and brought in as NFTs. So like CSGO skins, all that stuff would be tokenized eventually. And there's a ton of other gaming applications. We'll probably dedicate a lecture to blockchain gaming down the road. But that's so that's how Solana can win. Ethereum will win because of its decentralization, and it will win probably the highest value transactions. Those are the ones that require the most security, the most decentralization. So a lot of the high value stuff will stay on Ethereum. I doubt any CryptoPunk owners want to like bridge them over to Solana, right? Solana NFTs are kind of disregarded at this point, more or less, because people like the security of ETH, I guess. Cardano, it's hard to say what that's going to be good for exactly at this time. I'd say like bringing blockchain technology to like third world countries. They're doing a lot of stuff in Africa right now, and that will be cool to see how that expands. But I really just want to see some DeFi going on in Cardano. It hasn't been happening yet for whatever reason. I think that their smart contracts just aren't ready. Yeah, so now we'll look at how Ethereum is scaling and their attempts at trying to solve the blockchain trilemma. So the first and most crucial attempt is Ethereum 2.0. The network as a whole is trying to upgrade to this 2.0, which has a bunch of things included in it. The first upgrade was the EIP 1559. EIP stands for Ethereum Improvement Protocol. 1559 that happened over this summer, which basically created the burning mechanism and redid how gas fees are set. So instead of just bidding blindly now, you can have a much better idea of what the gas fees are going to be, and then a portion of them will get burned every time, which will decrease the supply the more that the chain is used. So we've actually seen certain blocks be deflationary at an annualized rate because the activity was so high. More is getting burnt than issued. And then another part of the ETH2 upgrade is the switch to proof of stake, which I'm sure you guys have heard a little bit about. That should hopefully be coming, I'd say, in the next like 6 months, just to be conservative. But this will change the consensus mechanism from proof of work to proof of stake, which will make it like over 99.99% more energy efficient. And it will also incentivize people to buy ETH instead of buying GPUs. So that the GPU market might finally return to normal. The last part of the ETH2 upgrade is called the shard chains, and they're launching 64 new blockchains that will be completely interoperable and run in parallel with the mainnet. This will just inherently increase the throughput a lot. I don't know how it's going to affect how quickly the blockchain grows. It'll be interesting to see if they just increase, like if they just grow the block to fit all 64, if they spread them into different like regions to store the data. I can look into that for next time, but yeah, so that's the three big parts of ETH2, something we have to look forward to over the next year. Okay, so another way are third-party applications or other development teams that are creating scaling solutions for Ethereum while they're working on ETH2. So there's two types of these. There's layer 2s and there's side chains. So you guys might have heard of Polygon, for example. Polygon is it's a side chain. Main difference is that the layer 2s inherit the security and decentralization of the network, whereas side chains, they have their own consensus and they determine their own truth. So it's still like EVM compatible. You can still send all your ETH stuff over and use way lower gas fees on side chains. But there's that little bit less security, and that's what you're paying for basically zero gas fees. Layer 2s are, like I said before, they inherit the mainnet security. And one example of this is Arbitrum. Another would be Optimism. Both are working really, really hard right now to integrate with a bunch of applications. So we saw Uniswap launch on Optimism. Let's see, we saw what's been on Arbitrum lately? Uniswap's on Arbitrum as well. Sushi's on Ave's on Optimism, you said? Ave's on Optimism. So basically, there's a bunch of scaling solutions, and teams are going to be working together to scale ETH, not just ETH themselves. And these inherently add value to the network, in my opinion, just to the base network of Ethereum. So an application that's on Arbitrum that I wanted to talk about is GMX. GMX is a decentralized exchange with leverage up to 30x. So if you guys have ever tried to leverage trade crypto in the United States, you know it's illegal. There aren't any companies that are allowed to provide that service. But GMX is just a set of smart contracts that run decentrally on Ethereum's blockchain, and you can do leverage trading for the time being on GMX layer 2 with zero gas fees. It's pretty sick. Go check that one out. Don't do anything illegal. So Polygon is an example of a side chain. Side chains have their own consensus mechanisms and therefore their own security. Polygon is one example of it, and it's what we're using to build the MDAO this year. So Ryan, I have a couple of slides that I can walk you through it. Oh, rookie XPT's in here. That's dope. You want to just take this?
I have slides pulled up, but sure.
Oh, you added slides too?
Yeah, can I share my screen?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna. So I have submit member proposal, bridge die, fees and group bridge, membership proposal.
probably better just for me to share my screen.
Yeah, for sure. You're in the thing, right?
Okay. Yeah. So for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Ryan. I'm the VP of the club.
Hold on.
Let me share my screen. So
Yeah.
how many of you guys have a MetaMask wallet right now? Do I need to go over MetaMask wallet for anyone? We have a few kids who don't. I don't have that. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm gonna quickly just go over MetaMask for those who don't have it. It's basically just a cryptocurrency wallet. So if you have Coinbase or whatever exchange you use, you can download MetaMask on your Google Chrome.
If you guys watch your laptops, now is the time to pull
Yeah,
them up.
feel free to follow along. I'll try and go through this kind of slowly so you can.
Also, the YouTube link is on the GroupMe chat if you want to see what Ryan's doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no one's gonna.
But can you?
No one's gonna. Yeah.
Can you put it on the screen? All right. Is there anyone who's following along right now who's downloading MetaMask in real time or no? Okay. I'll go a little quicker then. So this is MetaMask. It's a Google Chrome extension. You can put it right up here in the corner of your screen. When you download it, just be sure to save your private keys, store them somewhere safe. That's how you get access to your crypto if you lose your laptop, if you can't get access to your wallet. So be sure to store that somewhere safe. This is a decentralized wallet, so it's not like Coinbase where you can just call them up or email them or whatever and you can get your crypto back. You have full control over it, so you need those private keys in case you lose your crypto.
Yeah, don't just take a screenshot because if you lose your phone, you lose your money.
That's happened to a friend, so yeah, don't do that. So when you get your wallet, it'll look like this without any money in it. This actually isn't ETH, this is Polygon, and my Polygon network's being really odd right now.
Could have flexed.
Yeah, I could have flexed my 0.749 ETH. But you'll see your account here, and up here is your network. So it'll automatically be on Ethereum's network, and you're going to have to add the Polygon network. So to do that, you're going to have to go over.
There's a button.
Is there a button to automatically?
Yeah, there's a button to switch.
Oh, okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So you can actually bypass that step, but you'll need funds on Polygon. So you'll have to send your Ethereum over to your MetaMask wallet and then bridge it to Polygon's network because the networks aren't interoperable right off the gate. So this is going to be your one major cost with joining the MDAO. I'd recommend going on if you're interested in joining the MDAO and look maybe 4 or 5 times. And then when you see one come up that's kind of cheap, do it. It'll probably be between $25 to $50 to bridge your assets over to Polygon. So I just do it one time, however much you want to put in to begin with into the MDAO, which we'll get into later. You can just do that here on the Polygon bridge. We may also be able to do a group transaction or subsidize some gas fees. So feel free to wait on it, and we can maybe do that in the coming weeks. Yeah.
Yeah, we could have the opportunity for a group bridge every week if we wanted to. If enough people were into it, then it would only be like $5 per person, which would be dope.
So how is like the governance split for this DAO?
So I'll get into the DAO in a few minutes. I'm just going over how to set up and get to the DAO. But I'll do a short overview of it. I think we're probably going to have a full club meeting on the DAO probably within the next few weeks. But this is the Polygon bridge. So if you do decide to bridge some assets over to Polygon, just go over to this website here. And you can use your MetaMask. As you can see, it automatically connects to my MetaMask since I've been on the website before. And then you can choose how much Ethereum you want to send over to Polygon. And then in a few minutes, probably 5 to 10 minutes, your assets will be on Polygon. So the reason we use Polygon is because it's just way too expensive to be on Ethereum's mainnet for a DAO. It would cost $100 to $200 to vote on proposals and do transactions on the DAO. So
it's basically free. It's like 1/100 of a cent on Polygon. So.
Right.
Once you're in, you're good to go.
Sometimes transactions will be slow on Polygon, so I recommend going into the MetaMask. I can actually show you. So the next step here is Sushi Swap. If you want to, it depends what you bridge. So if you bridge ETH, I would recommend making your DAO proposal in ETH. Sushi Swap, though, this is
you can only make it in Raptomatic.
you can make even once we whitelist the token, though.
Okay. Earlier.
All right. So never mind, guys. You will need Matic, so you will have to use a decentralized exchange to do this.
So they can swap ETH into Raptomatic, right? Yeah. Or just go to Matic first.
From layer 1 and then bridge it over. I mean, that would be more expensive.
Just do it.
No, they should take Matic over because then they can pay the transaction fees on the network. But they'll need ETH on layer 1 too. We will help you guys with this.
Yeah.
Like as much as you need.
The hardest part is bridging your assets and getting whatever tokens you need to be in the DAO.
Yeah.
Once you're in the DAO, you'll be issued DAO tokens, which are basically shares. You can think of the DAO almost like a mutual fund plus a group chat that we vote on and we make investment decisions. I'll show you there's definitely like safety procedures in place where if you don't agree with a decision, you can actually take your money out before that decision gets processed. So there are a lot of different features, which we'll get into. Yeah.
So like getting your assets into Polygon, like I just realized like I know like a lot of exchanges like Sushi Swap, Uniswap, etc. Like they take like gas fees and whatnot. But I realized that if you use like Bitmark, you can take like Tether, which is like obviously the stable coin. You can like swap it directly into like pretty much any token.
Okay.
On that platform with like minimal fees. So like, would you recommend that?
I'm not sure on Bitmart that you can get tokens that are on Polygon's network already. Usually they're on Ethereum if they're an Ethereum token. You don't have to worry about gas fees with this though. So Sushi Swap is typically on Ethereum's mainnet, but they also operate on Polygon. So once you have your MetaMask connected to Polygon's network, whenever you go to an application that supports it, it will recognize your wallet is on Polygon, and then it'll show you some type of icon, kind of like this, showing you you're on Polygon.
If you click on that.
So this shows you, I guess, all the different networks it supports, which is way more than I thought. That's
crazy.
Yeah.
ETH is scaling.
Indeed. Sushi's scaling at the very least. But yeah, once you're on Polygon, gas fees will be like a cent or less. They'll be very cheap. You really don't have to worry about it.
But you will need some. Like
you will need some, yeah. But don't you get some when you connect your wallet to Polygon?
If you don't send any Polygon over, I think they give you a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
So here you will want to swap your Ethereum, which will be WETH at that point, wrapped Ethereum.
I think it will.
Yeah, there's no other choice. It's WETH.
That's just what Sushi Swap does.
Yeah.
Sushi Swap doesn't support normal. But you can use
It'll
Sushi
recognize it
Swap.
as ETH. Yeah. Yeah.
Is
Well,
it not?
when I deposit, yeah, it does, because that's how I did it. So then you'll just want to swap into Polygon, which is
Can you
Matic,
go straight to Raptomatic?
wrapped Matic, yeah, or DAI. So DAI actually I would recommend doing.
You can't make a member.
Yes, you
proposal
can.
with DAI. I
Yes,
checked
you
earlier.
can.
I
Yes, you
checked
can.
earlier. I checked earlier.
Okay, well,
It's really smoothened out.
let's check. Let's check right now, just in case. Okay, yeah, that sucks. So wrap Matic only.
Yeah, see, it's only Raptomatic.
Yep, Logan Ross was right. But yeah, so you'll want to swap into Raptomatic, which is this one. What we're doing before we do any investments, we're getting whoever wants to get in right off the bat. We're doing $1 per share. And so then you basically submit. Here you'll go to new proposal. I know I'm jumping into this really fast, but this is where you would submit the proposal. So if you want 50 shares, you put in $50. So then the net asset value of the fund will be whatever the shares are of the fund when we get started. So Ben, Logan, and I all put in $100 worth of Matic, have 100 shares right now. We're going to cap it at $1,000 to begin with per person. So no more than that. We just won't vote yes on your proposal. If you put more than that, we want everybody to have a say in the decisions. But as time goes on, we can talk about it and make a DAO proposal.
Yeah, I think for the joining proposals, I want to cap them at 100. Not to go back on what you said, but for the member proposals, let's cap them at 100, and then we'll do like in a couple of weeks, we'll give you the opportunity to add up to 900 more.
I mean, I think we should do 1,000 to begin with because gas fees to bridge Polygon don't make sense.
Right, but you don't have to do all this. Either way, we'll let you know. You don't have you can just submit 100. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter though. But if someone comes in with 1,000 before everyone else is in, they're just gonna like dig the.
I see what you mean.
You with the yes roll.
Okay. Here.
Oh, so it's a token that we're investing in? Or like, are we-
So yeah, I'll start explaining the DAO now because I really haven't gotten to the DAO. Yeah, what's your name,
This is
man?
the DAO.
Oh, I'm done. What do you do with returns? Like,
So-
do they go back into the club? Do they go back into the DAO?
Your DAO shares will be calculated. Yeah.
So this is the vault. When you request tokens, you also offer tribute, and those tokens are put into the treasury, right? So as the value of the treasury increases, each share will become worth more. Like I think Ryan had to pay 91 Matic for his 100 shares, and today Matic was up, so I only had to pay 81 Matic for my 100 shares. So there's already over $200 just based on our
So-
100 shares. So each share is technically already worth more than $1. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we'll need to start calculating that once those funds are submitted. But the reason this still says 0 is because proposals take 5 days to process. So I guess I'll get into the operations of the DAO right now. So to submit a proposal, you go to proposals. It's the first tab right here, and you go to new proposal. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is request shares for tokens. And then you put in your proposal title. That'd be like your name, how many shares you're requesting.
Is that the member proposal?
Yep, this is. And this is where you'll offer tribute. So whatever the shares are worth when you're making this proposal, you will give the proper amount of money, and then a short description. Just say like, hey, this is me. I'm in Wolverine blockchain. Look forward to being in the DAO. So here are some of the previous things we've done so far, just getting things ready. Let's see. So, for example, this was submitted by Henry. Is this you or the DAO yet? Okay.
I'm not hitting it because the member proposal, my first one hasn't finished. So we
All
have
right.
4 days left.
Well, here, let me go to one. I think I voted. This one was mine. So you can make a proposal as well to whitelist tokens. So right now we have whitelisted only DAI and Wrapped Matic because Wrapped Matic is what it starts with, and then I whitelisted DAI. I also whitelisted Ethereum, Wrapped Ethereum a couple days ago. So the DAO will start taking Ethereum within the next week. So there's 5 days for these proposals to go through, and then you can see if the vote passed or not. If it passed, then there's 2 days that you have to rage quit from the DAO. So that's what it's called, rage quitting. You can take out your DAO shares. You take out your DAO shares, it'll burn them, and then it'll give you your portion of the fund back. So this is all automated through smart contracts on Polygon's network.
I realize we're going really fast here, so I want to take a second and take questions. But before that, how many of you feel like you could bridge to Polygon? How many of you have bridged assets before, feel comfortable with it? Okay, cool. How many already have money on Polygon? Awesome.
So
That's what's up. So DAO House is the interface that we're using to manage our DAO. It provides the front end and the smart contracts. It's really dope. So you just go to app.daohouse.club. I dropped the link in the GroupMe earlier today, and then you sign in with your MetaMask, and you can check it out here. I highly encourage you guys to go check it out right now if you have your computers here, and just go click through all the tabs and see what's there while we're here for questions. But of the people who feel like they are not ready to bridge to Polygon, are there any specific questions that we can help with? Because I'm sure if you have it, there's others that have it as well.
I feel like I just need someone to walk me through it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that would be the easiest way to get one, like the most amount of
Yeah.
active members in the
Yeah.
DAO. Like,
Probably in a couple of weeks, we'll just do it as a club. Hopefully it'll be subsidized and we don't even have to pay gas fees.
We'll stick around after this for anyone who wants to. Yeah.
We also might need to like buy some crypto as well.
Right.
So this is what you'll see when you go into the DAO House app, and then you'll just search for the DAO. I'm sorry? This is what you'll see once you go to the hub. Yeah.
I'm sure. Continue, sorry.
So you just search for the DAO. It's called the MDAO, and it'll pull up. It's on Matic, so make sure you search on Matic as well, or just change your network to Matic and it should come up. Once you join the DAO, it'll automatically be pulled up like this. So remember, your MetaMask is basically your account for application you're going on. So once you sign in with your MetaMask, it'll recognize you, know who you are in like a pseudo anonymous way. Did you have a question? No. Okay. Let's see. Maybe I can show you guys. So yeah, I can show you this here. I put this little thing in. It was just a setting. If you want to discuss a proposal made, you can click on that, and then you can go to the course forum thing, talk about it if you want. We can just use the GroupMe as well. But if you want to use that, I just threw it in there. So submitted by Logan Ross.eth, this guy. He offered his tribute of 81.5 Matic. Check his math, 81.5 times 22 cents equals 100 shares, which equaled $100. Is that short? Should we check it? Should I vote no?
It's actually 81.3.
Oh, you rounded up? Good
I
man.
rounded up, yep.
All right, so as you can see here, you can vote on the proposal. I'll let this kid in. And then you're going to have to sign it with your MetaMask wallet. This is basically signing your vote.
That's not, it's a transaction.
Yeah, Ryan M.
RNM.eth.
Sheesh.
Keep it short and sweet, you know?
What an EMS name.
Ryan Meth. Never saw it like that.
Can't unsee that.
So usually it'll take like 15 seconds. If it takes a long time, you can try and speed it up. But I find that sometimes the network's slow. Just up the transaction fees. You can go in.
You see how DAOhouse just said that vote submitted thing at the top right? That's like very unreliable. Like half the time I use it, it will say that it failed. Then I'll go on the block explorer and I'll see that it was actually successful. And I just have to wait like 20 or 30 minutes for it to show up on DAOhouse too.
So okay, it's Matic now, not ETH. It changed back.
Broke.
I can't show you it now because I'm not doing a transaction. Maybe I can do another one.
No, you voted mine or mine.
Yeah, real
What are you
quick.
trying to show?
I just had a quick question.
Yeah.
So like essentially this DAO, like I know like most DAOs for most tokens, it's like to vote on like coding decisions and shit like that.
Yeah.
So like this DAO specifically is like an investment fund.
Can you go back to the votes?
Yeah.
And like essentially
So
Great question. I'm glad
like
you
are
asked.
we like can I just want to finish my question.
Yeah.
Make
Go ahead,
it's into the company. So like is this essentially an investment fund where everyone pulls together their crypto and then as a club we decide what assets we invest in and watch it grow?
That'll be the primary goal, I'd say, especially in the short term. And you can see the MDAO invest. So there's 4 boxes on the screen. The treasury is in the top left. That's the default. The other 3 are minions, which are basically just like wallet addresses to specific purposes. So is the fund left, and that can just fund any applications that someone in the club wants to. And will be where we store our assets dedicated to growth. So in the treasury, will just be like the common fund. We'll have our sponsors put the money into the treasury if they can figure it out. And then we'll allocate it from there using proposals. I really just encourage you to go mess around on the website. You'll figure it out the quickest that way.
Yeah. And a lot of this too, we want it to revolve around education. I think it's a great way to learn and be involved in cryptocurrency, to be part of a DAO, especially right now. Like DAOs are so early. Like this is such a primitive website. Like there's so few things you can do right now as compared to what you could do probably 10 years from now.
Yeah.
And with that, Logan was talking about proof of education, a fund that we're going to do hopefully in the next few weeks, where some of our sponsorship money will go into the DAO and be dedicated to DAO shares for you guys to earn through coming to club meetings, voting on proposals. We haven't worked it out exactly, but there are going to be ways to get involved in the DAO and get some shares of the treasury without having to put your money up if you don't want to.
More on that to come.
Yep.
One cool thing that I have to announce this week is that we actually just got an official partnership with FTX. And it's pretty cool to be working with them. We're going to be doing a trading competition on FTX, and they're going to be giving everyone in the club $50 to participate. Yay. and then from there we can put it into the DAO. That'd be pretty
Yeah,
cool.
just funnel that right into that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Facts. So let's see. This is the members page. I'm basically done. Settings isn't anything boost. You don't really need to worry about. So the membership page here, you can see the members of the DAO right now. It's Benjamin Goldberg, me, and Logan. Benjamin's going to be the project manager for the DAO, so I'm hoping he takes over here in the next few weeks and manages this DAO. I think it's going to be really cool. I'm very excited for it. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, we had a DAO on the mainnet like a year and a half ago, and the gas fees were just too expensive. But this is something I've really wanted to do for the club, and I think that getting started now on Polygon's the perfect opportunity. So,
Pretty crazy. We're a student now, like
Yeah.
a student organization now.
right?
Pretty
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah.
One of the
Are there?
first.
Yeah.
It probably is like one of the very first
Yeah,
student
first
DAOs. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and this
Or
is
the
all
first
on
one.
chain.
Yeah.
If you ever want a job in blockchain 15 years down the road when it's, 50% of the GDP of the US, you'll have your MetaMask wallet. You'll say, hey, look at I was the 5th member of this stuff back in
Check the
college.
chain, bro.
Check the chain.
So you guys, I mean, I don't know if you want to answer. Like, are you guys involved in other DAOs currently?
I'm not. No, this is my first DAO.
Well, I'm involved in the London DAO, which is
Okay.
around the beauty project.
Yeah.
Yeah. The former president of Wolverine blockchain has this sweet NFT project that has a handful of DAOs supporting it. We could talk about another time, but I'm active in one of
That's
them.
very cool.
At least like a DAO in this sense too, because there's like Uniswap and Aave and these protocols, which are technically types of DAOs because those tokens are governance tokens. So you have a say in the protocol by owning those tokens.
Other
So
DAOs have been hot lately. There'll be like DAOs that form to collect really valuable pieces.
I've seen so many
Yeah.
coming into the mainframe right now, like all the
For
fish
sure.
boys I'm a part of.
So by a show of hands, who's willing to or interested in, I don't want to say willing, who's interested in throwing like at least $20 in the DAO? All right, cool.
sweet.
Very cool. And who would be active? Who would be interested in like being active in creating and submitting proposals?
I think I'm just gonna hodl this one.
So there's also loot too. So there's shares and loot. You can request loot if you want. They're the same thing except loot isn't voting shares. So
What is loot? Like,
it's basically just passive, like you're a limited partner almost to the
Oh,
LLC.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's no fun.
So do you want to show them? You want to make a proposal real quick to show them how easy it is?
Yeah. Okay.
So you go to proposals is the top tab, and then you just click new proposal.
So if you guys don't know, this will be helpful. But to get a token's address on Ethereum, you can go to CoinMarketCap, and we're using Polygon's network. So we have to copy that address. So what I'm doing here is I'm copying Wrapped Bitcoin's token address so we can accept this in the DAO. And I'm about to make a proposal to whitelist Wrapped Bitcoin so we can use it in the DAO.
Yeah, don't send any funds to the DAO that aren't whitelisted.
I don't think you can.
Yeah, oh, yeah, probably not.
Hopefully not.
what would happen? Would you lose all your guap?
You probably can't.
It's
but
yeah,
it's a
potentially.
possibility you could lose.
But
it.
I don't think you're able to send unwhitelisted
I don't
tokens.
think it's- yeah.
So I just copy and pasted the ERC20 address for Wrapped Bitcoin right in here and title whitelist Wrapped Bitcoin. King of crypto. Submit.
So as you can see, some on Polygon is just that in USD.
It's like 1.5 cents,
Is
which
it-
is one of the more expensive ones because it's a proposal.
Gas is
too.
probably really high right now.
Yeah.
So it's 1 cent on the mainnet. It would be $80 to $200.
Yeah.
Which is
That's higher than usual.
makes it impossible.
So sometimes Polygon's network is slow and transactions won't go through for me right away. So when that happens, what I do is I'll go to edit and then you can edit the suggested gas fee. So MetaMask estimates how much money you need to pay for the transaction to go through in like 15 seconds or whatever. So you can go in here and up. It's like instead of a gas limit of 41,000, maybe I want to do 51,000 and pay a gas price of 45 Gwei instead of 30. And now presumably my transaction will go through much faster and I'm paying 1 more cent.
You probably won't have to worry about that though. Most Polygon transactions process in like 30 seconds. But they might not show up on DAO House for 30 minutes depending on stuff.
Submitted 3 times. Got my money's worth. All right, you guys have questions about this? I know I went through it pretty fast. It was just a post overview for you guys how you can join if you want to get started early. Definitely more to know.
It's a website. Can you guys just put the website in the group?
Yeah, we can. I have me on my laptop, but we
You
can.
could just copy it from my thing. Anything else we need to talk about?
I think that pretty much covers it.
All right, cool.
Any cool NFT projects anyone out there?
Sure. All right.
Yeah.
I broadcast stream.
StreamYard.
I'm gonna end the